Have you ever felt like your faith is being tested when things aren't going the way you expected? Have you ever wondered how to maintain your faith when everything seems to be going against your hopes? Life has a way of throwing curveballs at us when we least expect it. Whether it's a sudden change, an unexpected challenge, or a setback that seems to put our dreams on hold, there are moments when everything feels out of our control. In these times, it's easy to feel as though our faith is slipping away, or to question if God is still present in our lives. But the truth is, faith is most powerful in the midst of difficulty, and it's in those moments of uncertainty that we have the chance to trust God's guidance more deeply than ever before. In life, things don't always unfold according to our plans, and sometimes challenges, failures, or suffering can cause us to lose hope. We might find ourselves questioning, why is this happening? Where is God in all of this? However, faith is not just a feeling or an action reserved for the times when things are going well. Faith is most important during the storms of life. When everything seems to be falling apart, that's when we are called to hold on to our faith even harder. The strongest faith is the one that holds firm even when things aren't going the way we want. It's easy to believe when things are smooth, but true faith is shown in how we handle the challenges, disappointments, and uncertainties. We need to trust that God is still guiding us even when the path isn't clear or easy. He's walking with us through the trials, and although the answers might not come right away, His presence remains constant. The process of holding on to faith in those moments is what strengthens us and builds our spiritual resilience. Everyone faces difficult moments, but faith is what helps us get through them. Today we're going to explore how to live by faith even when things don't go as you expect. No matter where you are in life, whether you're facing personal struggles, career challenges, or emotional setbacks, you are not alone in this journey. Faith is the anchor that keeps us grounded when everything feels chaotic, and the more we learn to live by faith during difficult times, the stronger we become. The ability to trust God's plan, especially when we don't understand the circumstances, is what truly defines a deep and unwavering faith. If this video has helped you understand how to live by faith in difficult times, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to share and learn together about faith. Through this journey, we can encourage each other to hold on to hope, trust in God's plan, and grow in our faith together. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to walking alongside you as we explore how to live by faith no matter what life throws our way. When we think about faith, many of us often imagine it as an unwavering, strong belief that never falters, that's full of certainty and confidence. We think that faith means never questioning or doubting. However, faith is not the absence of doubt. In fact, doubt can often be a natural part of the faith journey, especially in difficult circumstances. True faith is not the absence of doubt or fear, but rather the ability to trust in God even when we face uncertainty. In the Bible, we are given examples of people who struggled with doubt. One of the most poignant examples comes from Thomas, one of Jesus' disciples, who is often remembered as Doubting Thomas. After Jesus' resurrection, when Thomas heard from the other disciples that they had seen Jesus live, he famously said, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." John 20:25. Thomas's doubt did not disqualify him from being a disciple, nor did it take away from his eventual faith in Jesus. Instead, it was an opportunity for Jesus to show him the depth of his mercy and truth. This story shows us that doubt is not something to be ashamed of. It's a natural human response, especially in the situations where things aren't going as expected or when we face hardship. What's important is not avoiding doubt, but learning how to trust in God's promises in the midst of it. Faith, especially in difficult circumstances, is about trusting God's faithfulness even when we don't see immediate results or answers. In those moments, our trust in God's character and His promises is what keeps us going even when our circumstances seem to suggest otherwise. Real faith is about standing firm in the belief that God is who He says He is, no matter what's happening around us. Doubt and fear may come, but they don't define our faith. Our response to those doubts, choosing to trust God despite them, does. So when doubt and fear arise, don't see them as a weakness or failure. Instead, view them as opportunities to deepen your trust in God and learn to rely on His promises more fully. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and we find ourselves in situations that seem hopeless or unexplainable. In these moments, faith can feel like a challenge. When our circumstances are not what we expected, it's easy to feel disappointed, frustrated, or confused. We might ask ourselves, why is this happening to me, or what did I do to deserve this? But faith in adversity is precisely where faith is most meaningful and necessary. Faith is trusting God's guidance even when things aren't going well, even when we don't have the answers. It's about choosing to believe that God is still in control even when we cannot see his hand at work. In the Gospels, Jesus offers us a powerful teaching on how to respond to adversity. In Matthew 6:34 he says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." This verse is a reminder that our faith is not meant to be focused on future worries or uncertain outcomes. We are called to trust God in the present moment, even in the midst of challenges and hardship. Faith is about recognizing that God is with us even when we cannot see what the future holds. We often think of faith as a reward for good behavior or as something that results in easy, smooth paths. However, faith is not just about the positive outcomes, it's about trusting God's presence in the midst of the storms. The Apostle Paul writes in Romans 8:28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." This promise does not mean that every situation will be easy or that bad things won't happen, but that God works in every situation for our good, no matter how painful or difficult the circumstance may seem. When life is not going the way you expect, faith in adversity means trusting that God's plan is better than your own, even if you don't understand the reason behind your struggles. It's about seeing the bigger picture, that God is working toward a picture that may not be clear to us right now, but is ultimately for our good and his glory. In those tough moments, faith is about choosing to trust that God is still in control, and that even the painful experiences are a part of his greater plan for our lives. One of the hardest things to accept in life is the fact that not everything will go the way we want. We all have hopes, dreams, and plans for our future, and often we believe that if we work hard enough, everything will fall into place. But reality is not always so predictable. Sometimes the outcomes we desire don't come, and we're left with feelings of disappointment and unmet expectations. Faith, however, involves acceptance, the acceptance that not everything will go according to our plans. It's hard to accept that things won't always turn out how we imagine them, but faith requires us to release control and trust that God has something better for us. It's when we let go of our own desires for control and trust in God's greater wisdom that we experience true peace. Consider the example of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane just before his crucifixion. Jesus was fully aware of the suffering he was about to endure. In his prayer, he says to God, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Matthew 26:39. Even though Jesus knew the pain and suffering he was about to face, he accepted God's will, even though it didn't align with his own. He chose to trust God's plan rather than his own comfort. This moment of submission and trusting God's will is a powerful example of what it means to live by faith when things don't go as planned. Accepting that not everything will go as you want does not mean that you have to stop dreaming and giving your best effort. Faith is not passive acceptance, it's an active trust that God's plan is better and that his timing and purpose are perfect. It's about trusting God's sovereignty, even when the path ahead looks different from what you envisioned. Faith in this context is the peace and assurance that comes from trusting that God is still at work in your life, even when things seem uncertain. Understanding faith in difficult circumstances is crucial to developing a deeper, more resilient faith. Faith is not about the absence of doubt or fear, but about trusting in God's promises, even when life isn't going as expected. In the face of adversity, faith is choosing to believe that God is in control and that he is working for our good, even when we can't see the bigger picture. Accepting that life doesn't always go according to plan is also part of living by faith. It's about recognizing that God has a greater plan than our own, and that his wisdom surpasses our understanding. Trusting God in those difficult times, whether it's dealing with disappointment, confusion, or unfulfilled expectations, is what strengthens our relationship with Him and deepens our faith. When everything isn't going your way, remember that faith is not about understanding everything. It's about trusting the one who holds everything in His hands. The most powerful faith is the one that holds firm in the midst of doubt and hardship, knowing that God is always faithful and that He is still working in your life even when you can't see it. Faith is often associated with believing in God's promises, trusting His character and relying on His word. However, faith is not just about believing in God when life is easy. True faith is often tested in times of difficulty, pain, and confusion. Faith requires patience. It's easy to have faith when things are going smoothly, when we feel in control and when life unfolds according to our plans. But real faith is demonstrated when we choose to trust God even when circumstances are challenging and even when the answers we seek are delayed. In times of hardship, patience is essential. We want quick fixes, immediate results, and clear signs from God, but faith often requires us to wait. Patience is not passive or resigned. It is an active choice to trust in God's timing even when it feels like nothing is changing. In James 5:7-8 we are reminded, "Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near." This passage likens the process of faith to the patient waiting of a farmer, a process that requires time, trust, and belief that the crops will grow, even though the farmer cannot control the weather or the speed of growth. Patience is an active choice to trust God's plan, knowing that His timing is always perfect even when it doesn't match our own. Waiting isn't easy. When we're facing difficulties, it's tempting to lose hope or to question whether God is really working. But true faith is rooted in the ability to wait with patience, trusting that God will bring about His plan in His time. It's about acknowledging that God sees the bigger picture, and even though we may not understand the delays, we can trust that He is in control. Patience in faith is also about developing endurance. The trials we face in life are not meant to break us, but to strengthen our spiritual muscles. In Romans 5:3-4, Paul writes, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Every trial you face is an opportunity to build endurance, character, and ultimately hope. Patience helps us develop the resilience to face life's challenges without giving up on our faith. It trains us to trust God even when the road is long and unclear, knowing that He will work things out for our good. Hope is the driving force that fuels faith, especially in the most difficult of times. When everything around us seems dark and uncertain, hope shines a light reminding us of God's promises and His faithfulness. Hope is not wishful thinking or idle dreaming. It is a deep belief that God will complete the work He has begun in our lives regardless of the circumstances. Hope anchors our faith and keeps us focused on the ultimate truth that God is in control. In Romans 8:24-25, Paul writes, "For in this hope we were saved. But hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what they already have? But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently." This passage teaches us that hope is not about the present, it's about believing in God's promises for the future. Hope sees beyond the present suffering, knowing that God is at work preparing something better for us. Hope is what gives us the strength to continue moving forward when things aren't going as planned. It's easy to be discouraged when we can't see the outcome, but hope keeps us grounded in the belief that God's plan is always for our good, even when we can't fully understand the details. Hope is a confident expectation that God has a purpose in every situation. This is not just a vague hope that everything will work out in the end, but a firm belief that God will fulfill His promises to us even when it seems like things are falling apart. When we face challenges, hope reminds us that God is working in the background. We may not always see the immediate fruits of our labour, but God is faithful to finish the work He started in us. The journey might be long, but hope tells us that there is a purpose in every moment, even in the waiting. When we hold on to hope, we are able to press on knowing that God will make everything beautiful in His time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Hope also allows us to maintain perspective during trials. It helps us understand that we are not alone in our struggles. God is with us and He is working through our circumstances even when we cannot see the outcome. This kind of hope isn't just a fleeting feeling, but a deeply rooted belief that God's plan is greater than anything we can imagine. It's trusting in His goodness, His timing, and His sovereignty even when things don't go as expected. It's easy to think that when life becomes difficult, God has abandoned us or that we are somehow being punished. But in reality, the trials and challenges we face are not signs of God's absence. They are opportunities for our faith to be refined and strengthened. Faith grows stronger in adversity because it's in the hard times that we learn to depend on God more fully. In 1 Peter 1:6-7, Peter writes, "In all this you greatly rejoice, though now, for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Just as gold is refined by fire, our faith is strengthened and purified through life's trials. The process may be painful, but it's during these trials that our faith is refined and we are made more resilient. Faith is like a muscle. It becomes stronger through exercise and resistance. The more we face and overcome, the more our faith is fortified. Every trial provides an opportunity to build endurance, learn patience, and draw closer to God. As we encounter hardship and continue to trust God, our faith becomes stronger, and we become more confident in His ability to provide and guide us through future challenges. While trials are difficult, they are not meaningless. The Bible assures us that God works all things for our good, Romans 8:28, and that includes our struggles. God uses trials to mold us, teaching us perseverance, humility, and dependence on Him. It's easy to see these moments as setbacks or failures, but in truth they are steps forward in our journey of faith. They allow us to grow in wisdom, maturity, and understanding of God's nature and His plans for us. Faith strengthened through trials also leads to greater hope. As we see God's faithfulness in the midst of challenges, our hope in Him grows stronger. We begin to trust that no matter what happens, God will be faithful to His promises and that He will carry us through to the other side. The hope that comes through endurance is a powerful motivator to continue trusting God even when the road ahead is uncertain. Patience and hope are inseparable components of true faith. Patience teaches us to trust in God's timing, even when the waiting seems long and painful. It allows us to rest in the confidence that God is in control and that He is working out His perfect plan for us. Hope, on the other hand, gives us the strength to continue moving forward when things seem bleak, reminding us that God will complete the work He began in our lives no matter how difficult the journey. Trials and adversity are not signs of God's abandonment, but rather opportunities to strengthen our faith and grow in our dependence on Him. As we face hardships with patience and awe, we are refined and prepared for the future that God has for us. Our faith is deepened, our hope is renewed, and we emerge from our trials stronger and more confident in God's promises. So when you face challenges, remember that patience and hope are your companions on the journey. Trust that God is with you, that He is working through every circumstance, and that His plan for you is greater than anything you can imagine. With patience, hope, and faith, you can overcome anything and grow into the person God has destined you to be. Prayer is an integral part of faith. It is the very way we communicate with God, build a relationship with Him, and seek His will in our lives. Prayer is not just a routine or a religious obligation. It's a powerful tool that helps us connect with God's heart and understand His purposes. Through prayer, we lay down our worries, express our gratitude, and seek guidance from the one who knows what is best for us. When things don't go as expected or when we face challenges, prayer becomes even more vital. It is during these times that we need to pray and seek God's guidance more than ever. In moments of uncertainty, prayer is our refuge. It's where we find peace in the midst of chaos, clarity when we feel lost, and strength when we feel weak. God invites us to bring our burdens, doubts, and desires to Him through prayer, knowing that He hears us. Faith in prayer means believing that God will respond to our prayers even if the answer isn't immediate or the way we expect it. Jesus himself taught us about the power of prayer, and in his own life we see that he frequently withdrew to pray seeking God's will and guidance. In Matthew 7:7, Jesus tells us, "Ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened to you." This verse reassures us that prayer is not just a way to express our desires, but also a means of drawing closer to God. We pray in faith, trusting that God knows our needs better than we do, and that he will answer in his perfect timing. However, prayer is not just about asking, it's about seeking a relationship with God. We must learn to pray continuously, not just when we need something, but as an ongoing conversation with God. Faith in prayer is an active trust that God will answer even if it seems like the response is delayed. Trusting God through prayer requires patience and perseverance. It's easy to get discouraged if we don't see results immediately, but true faith is demonstrated in our willingness to continue praying and trusting that God's timing is perfect. Prayer keeps us aligned with God's will, reminding us that he is in control even when things seem uncertain. While prayer is an essential part of faith, faith is not just a passive belief. Faith is meant to be active. It requires us to act on the belief that God will guide us and provide for us even when circumstances seem unfavourable. Faith involves taking steps forward based on the trust we have in God, even if we cannot see the full picture or understand where the journey is leading us. One of the clearest examples of acting in faith can be found in the story of Noah. In Genesis 6, God instructed Noah to build an ark in preparation for a flood that would destroy the earth. Now keep in mind that Noah had never seen rain before. There was no evidence of a flood, no warning signs, and no signs in nature that could have convinced him this was about to happen. Despite these circumstances, Noah acted in faith. He built the ark following God's command even when he had no tangible proof that the flood would come. Noah didn't just believe in God's word, he acted on it. In the same way, acting in faith requires us to step out and trust in God's promises, even when the circumstances don't align with what we expect. Faith is not merely believing in God's promises, it's also about acting in obedience to what he asks of us. When God speaks, we are called to trust his word and act in accordance with his will, no matter how uncertain or risky the situation might seem. A common mistake people make when they are struggling is to wait for everything to be clear and perfect before taking action. They think I'll act once I see a sign, or I'll take a step when everything falls into place. However, faith does not wait for all the answers. It acts in the present, trusting that God will guide each step, just like Noah. We may not have all the details, but if God is calling us to something, we must trust him enough to move forward. Think of a child learning to walk. The child doesn't wait until they are sure they won't fall. They take a step with the faith that their parent will catch them even if they stumble. Similarly, faith in action means moving forward even if it feels uncertain or difficult, trusting that God is leading the way. Each step we take is a declaration of our trust in God's guidance. Faith is not a one-time decision or a feeling that comes and goes. Faith is an ongoing, continuous act. It is something we live out every day, especially when life doesn't go as planned. True faith doesn't just say I believe in God when everything is going well. It says I believe in God even when things seem uncertain, frustrating, or overwhelming. The work of faith is a daily commitment. It's a lifestyle of obedience and trust where we choose to live according to God's word, even when we don't understand the circumstances. It's easy to trust God when life is smooth and the road ahead looks clear, but true faith is about trusting God in the unknown and waiting for his answers even when they don't come immediately. In Hebrews 11, often referred to as the Hall of Faith, we see numerous examples of men and women who demonstrated active faith. These individuals didn't just believe, they acted. For example, Abraham trusted God enough to leave his home and family to travel to an unknown land. He didn't know where he was going, but he followed God's call anyway. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt despite facing impossible odds and overwhelming opposition. These stories remind us that faith is not passive. It's about living according to God's will regardless of the circumstances. It requires a continual process of obedience, trust, and action. Faith also means continuing to pray and act in accordance with God's promises even when the answers seem delayed or when the path ahead is unclear. In Mark 11:24, Jesus says, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours." This verse emphasizes the connection between prayer and faith. When we pray in faith, we must also be willing to act as though we already have what we've prayed for. Faith is living out the reality of God's promises before they are fully realized. The work of faith involves a constant relationship with God. It's not just about seeking Him in times of crisis, but also about daily surrender to His will. Faith requires us to trust in God's timing and plans, especially when those plans don't align with our own. It's about obedience to His voice even when we can't see the end result. Faith is more than just a belief. It's a living, breathing action that requires prayer, trust, and obedience. Prayer is the foundation of faith as it connects us to God, strengthens our relationship with Him, and allows us to seek His guidance. Acting in faith is a continual process of choosing obedience even when we don't understand or see the immediate results. As demonstrated by Noah and countless others in the Bible, acting in faith often means stepping out into the unknown, trusting that God will lead us every step of the way. The work of faith is not a one-time effort, but a daily commitment to trust God, act in obedience, and continue to pray. Faith doesn't just sit back and wait for God to do everything. It takes steps, trusting that God is leading us toward the future He has planned. So keep praying and keep acting in faith, knowing that God will guide you, provide for you, and work in your life, even when the answers are not immediate and the path is unclear. Through prayer and action, we actively live out our faith, trusting that God will finish the work He has begun in us. Living by faith during challenging times is not only a test, but also an opportunity to build a stronger and more resilient faith. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and there will inevitably be moments when things don't go as we hope or expect. However, true faith is demonstrated in how we respond to these challenges. It's easy to trust God when everything is going well, but faith becomes truly powerful when we continue to trust in Him, even when life doesn't unfold the way we want. When facing difficulties, it's important to remember that God has a better plan for you, and He will guide you through every hardship. The struggles and setbacks you face are not a sign of His absence, but opportunities for Him to refine your faith and prepare you for something greater. God's plan is always for your good, even when the path is unclear or hard to walk. So even in moments of doubt and frustration, trust that God is still at work guiding you and shaping your character for the future He has in store. If you're going through a tough time, remember to stay strong in faith. Don't let fear or frustration control you. Instead, pray, seeking God's guidance and trusting that He will answer in His perfect timing. Faith is not just about believing in God when things are easy. It's about continuing to follow Him in the middle of the storm, when everything around you feels uncertain. Trust that your faith is growing stronger with every step you take in obedience to His will. Keep believing that God will make a way, even when the road ahead seems unclear. Take action by living out your faith every day. Choose to act in faith even when you don't see the outcome. Through prayer, obedience, and trust, you will find strength and peace, knowing that God is leading you through each and every challenge. If this video has helped you understand how to live by faith in difficult times, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to share and learn together about faith. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Let's continue to grow in our faith together. Stay strong and keep trusting God, knowing He's always with you.